These are not the best of times for many living around the creeks in the Niger Delta. An oil leak from a wellhead belonging to ITO Eastern Exploration and Production Company in Nembe community, Bayelsa State, was first noticed in early November, but continued non-stop until early December. And the amount of environmental degradation caused by the oil spill can't be quantified. Welcome to Green Angle. I am Esther Mapariola. The recent oil spill in Nembe was caused by economic sabotage. And that's according to the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency after the joint investigative visit to the site in Nembe. Joseph Kunde has more on the story.
I came to visit with the governor so that they all have a joint investigative visit to the site so that we ascertain the cause of the incident.
Less than 2 days after the Minister of State for Environment visited Santa Barbara and Bayelsa State Government House in Yenagoa, a joint investigative visit is making an on-the-spot assessment of the oil spill site. They are to ascertain the cause of the leak and the level of degradation of the area.
The hydrocarbon was gushing out from here. We call here tubing spool.
The team, made up of representatives from the Bayelsa State, Nostria, NUPRC, NAPIMS and ITO, then took turns in the inspection of the Christmas tree and thereafter gave their verdict.
If we look at the pressure in the well, it is very, very unlikely that the pressure will remove those valves. Because if those valves were pulled out under pressure, the threads supposed to have worn out. The most likely cause that could remove those valves were external influence, which could be likely to sabotage. And that is the position based on what we saw there and based on our analysis.
Where the spill came out from is from the wing valve. And then the wing valve has been replaced now and has to conceal the wheel. That means the wing valve was not designed to fail like that, because there are bolts that are surrounding it, well designed to keep the pressure in place. So if it has not been taken off, there is no way it can move away from there. So when it started initially, when it was reported, there was no wing valve in that place and it could not be found. So to us, it was an act of sabotage.
The petroleum industry regulators sign off on the findings, one that was corroborated by ITO.
The law is very clear. Once it's determined as it is right now that it was due to sabotage or third-party interference, compensation is not payable. But that is not to say that ITO would not, as usual, continue to try to make the communities in which we operate as comfortable as we can make them to be, as we've always done.
The Bayelsa State representatives, made up of the technical committee, the local government and the affected community, did not endorse the document, insisting that the cause of the spill was equipment failure.
In the meantime, our correspondent Joseph Kunde further examines the concerns over the incident, even as attention now shifts to remediation and a comprehensive cleanup exercise in the oil-rich region.
Warekumakiri is a fishing settlement in Nembe. It houses a wellhead belonging to ITO Eastern Exploration and Production Company, a property they acquired in 2015. What could have been business as usual for the inhabitants of the place took a different turn after oil well 1 of the OML 29 started spewing crude oil and gas. While the natives say the spill occurred on the 1st of November, a statement by ITO stated that it occurred on the 5th. We had first visited the leaking wellhead in the company of the Vice President of the John National Congress, an environmentalist, Maurice Alagwa.
This issue is a national issue because this oil well and other crude oil wells is part of the allocation that is being shared. And this is part of the Bonny Light that is being sold every month for the economy of the Nigerian state.
The health implications, we may not see them immediately, but we know the UNEP report has told us that benzene is part of crude oil as an element which causes cancer. And then we have other respiratory diseases that are attached to such issues. It is a major incident that we need big relief and also compensation. But first of all, again, ITO should ensure that this thing is stopped. If they do not have the capacity, then they should withdraw the operational license from them.
With growing concerns about the devastating effects on the livelihood of the people, ITO embarked on an emergency response visit to Nembe, where relief materials like mosquito nets, disinfectants, sanitary kits and food items were given to those affected by the spill. But the leaking wellhead was already generating many reactions from different quarters. In Yenagoa, having a sample of a dead fish killed by the spilled oil, the Ijaw National Congress held a press conference to express their dissatisfaction and call for the immediate stoppage of the leaking wellhead.
This brings us back to the issue of allowing us to own and control our resources. The Nigerian state is sabotaging our environment, is sabotaging our lives. They are only bothered when it comes to sabotage on economy. Is the economy more important than the people? Why is our government only interested in money? That you come from the place, the people are dying. There is an explosion that is going on and people are dying. Government has not said anything. You can see before me crude oil samples taken by the experts. In fact, we just took one of the fishes out of several thousand fishes that are floating on the river to show that this is not hearsay. This is about reality.
One day after, a familiar face visits the spill site. Despite not being able to get beyond the conduit point, the oil company assured the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipri Silva, that it will be put under control in 2 days.
We have gone to the site, we have looked at the place, and we have seen that the company is making reasonable effort to contain the spill. We will go back, we will make comprehensive report to Mr. President, and we will get back to the community. And of course, the company has assured us that they are going to do everything to ensure that the spill is contained. The contractor is already here. He will be on site tomorrow. And we believe that as the company has promised, in the next 2 days, this spill will stop.
At this point, the company intensified efforts in stopping the busting wellhead with the arrival of more barges, with another reassurance that it will be stopped in another 2 days.
We remain committed to everything we have said from day one. Our priorities in this concern is 1, to stop the spillage and contain the well, kill the well. Amendments have been made clearly. We're in concert with Halliburton, Coots and Boots. They're already on the ground with the equipment to put out the spillage and contain the well and finally kill the well.
As fishing and farming around the spill site gets more and more difficult, the natives staged a simultaneous protest at 3 different locations at Nembe, Santa Barbara, and the Obioko community. They also demanded more relief materials.
We don't want any representative. If at all there will be a representative, as a community we have the royal majesty of this community, who will appoint representative to represent us. And as a matter of fact, again, we also have technical experts who are sons and daughters of this community. If there must be any cleanup, any work, those our sons and daughters who are qualified to carry out this project, they are there.
The spill is still continuing. That's why we wrote a letter to the local government chairman, to our House of Assembly member, to our senator, and everywhere, even the ITO, we are writing a letter to them to come to our aid, come to speak to us directly. 2 cups of rice to individual. See the crowd here. Over 20-something communities at the Royal Obioko Kingdom. 2 cups of rice to his house. How can we live on?
The spill continued unabated into the Santa Barbara River for about a month. A visibly unhappy Governor Doyediri and his team visited the spill site. The governor is accosted by some fishermen on the river. He later assures of the state bringing relief materials their way.
I'm aware that your means of livelihood has been removed. Now, because of that, I have directed the state emergency team to make sure that we bring relief materials to you. Oil cannot be taken with the blood of our people. The way we protect oil, we should also protect the lives of the people. So I'd like to thank you. Remain peaceful.
Not satisfied with the development, the natives of Nembe staged yet another protest. This time, they want a comprehensive remediation exercise.
There must be an urgent but comprehensive remediation program for the ecosystem to restore the biodiversity of the affected areas. May we use this medium to advise all interested parties in this matter to avoid playing politics with the lives of our people and our environment, all of which are currently under great threat.
One day after, ITO pulled a breakthrough after being able to finally put out the blowout, a move that had seen them attempted repeatedly in the last 30 days. But some environmental rights organizations, upon hearing of the stoppage, decided to come to see things for themselves. Although they encountered some bottlenecks, they advised on proper remediation.
The federal government has to declare an environmental emergency on Bayelsa State, because Bayelsa is one of the most polluted states in the federation. There's always an oil spill ongoing somewhere, and there's never been adequate cleanup anywhere. Setting up the structure for emergency responses to take care of the environment and the people, including conducting a health audit, because the heavy metals that have been pumped into the environment, into the air by this oil spill, there are things that would cause cancers, things that will cause kidney failure. So the situation is really bad.
I don't know if the company has the money or even the capacity to remediate, because already the destruction, just from the layman's eye, with the mangroves and the oil that is floating, and listening to experts in environment speak, they have said that the damage that has already taken place by the volume that has been spilled and the gas that has been spilled into the air is about 50 years worth of damage.
Unfortunately, I couldn't even go to see the well or the wellhead because of oil company protocols, which is regrettable. I believe that they are supposed to be a little more open and allow those who want to see to see. The spill, though it started in Nembe, LGA, has gone to Brass, has gone to River State, has reached the Atlantic Ocean, and so almost everywhere around the Gulf of Guinea that is proximal to Bayelsa State will suffer the same fate. And so they must pay something commensurate. I'm looking at something in the level of about $100 billion, that has to be paid, because in recent years, they hardly pay equivalent of the damage they caused.
While frantic efforts are being put in place by ITO to properly contain the spill before focusing on the cleanup of the wellhead platform and its surroundings, perhaps it will be a good time for the House Committee on the Environment to also visit the spill site, as there are grieving calls for Bayelsa to be declared an environmental emergency. Joseph Kunde, TVC News, Yenagoa.
Planting trees is crucial to reducing carbon footprints, and for a city like Lagos, which is vulnerable to climate change, the need couldn't be underestimated. Well, that's according to the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, while planting a tree to support a project of planting 1,000 trees in the state to preserve and protect the environment. Last month, 197 countries reached a global agreement to reduce the worst impact of climate change by 2050. Leaders at the COP26 summit agreed to stop deforestation by 2030, which is seen as vital because trees absorb vast amounts of carbon emissions.
If we don't get serious about climate change today, it will be too late for our children to do so tomorrow. We can plant hundreds of millions of trees, 1 trillion. It's not technologically difficult. And halt and reverse deforestation by 2030. Not just because it's a spiritually uplifting and beautiful thing to do, but because that is the way to restore the balance of nature and to fix carbon in the air.
Recent reports reveal that Nigeria lost 96% of its forest cover due to deforestation, and in 2020, Lagos is said to have lost 650 hectares. The loss of trees and other vegetation has resulted in desertification, flooding, fewer crops, increased greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and loss of plant and animal habitats.
The two giant rainforests of the world, the Brazilian and the Congo Basin rainforest, are massive absorbers of the CO2. But as we degrade them and it's going on very, very rapidly, they will now soon become more emitters of the CO2 than absorbers.
Nature-based solutions such as tree planting have been recognized as one of the simple ways of slowing down climate change. To this end, a team of young environmental volunteers in partnership with African steel mills is collaborating with the agencies of Lagos State government to plant 1,000 trees across the state starting from this month, and educating the people on the role of tree planting in protecting and preserving the ecosystem.
It inspires youth to move forward and make change in ways that we didn't know was possible. We're currently planting at Olusegun site, and we hope to return to the environment what we have taken from it.
We all have big dreams for what we want the environment to be. But as the author Roy T. Bennett said, dreams don't work unless you take action. This is just the beginning, and we hope to continue to do our part to promote and ensure environmental sustainability.
You cannot, as a leader, but just stand up and support initiatives like this, because we want a whole lot of others to join them at ensuring that they can preserve their own future. A Step is an initiative that I want to fully support. It's an initiative that its time has come. It's an initiative that we all must rise up to see that in our own little space, how well are we protecting our environment? How well are we protecting the future? Because this is the only place on Mother Earth that we have. And Lagos, like she had said, is the only preservation that we all can call home.
Trees influence everything. As the biggest plants on the planet, they give us oxygen, store carbon, stabilize the soil, and give life to the world's wildlife. Failure to care for our environment, scientists say, could hasten the end of the human race. Ever wondered using PET bottles and used tires to make a Christmas tree? We have more on the story just ahead. As part of activities to celebrate the Yuletide season, nearly 12,000 plastic bottles and 60 old tires were converted into eco-Christmas trees. Well, the eco-trees, which are located in 5 strategic areas in Lagos, aim to showcase how waste materials can be used to beautify the environment.
Made of old tires and plastic PET bottles, these eco-friendly Christmas trees and decorations are seen across Lagos metropolis. For a busy city like Lagos, these eco-trees are positioned at high traffic zones, but was put together by a team of young environmental volunteers. The goal is to demonstrate simple ways to convert waste to wealth.
The green PET bottles have been rejected by the recyclers. It's of lower value than the other PET bottles. And for it not to end up in the ocean or in our streets, or in the drains causing flooding, it is eminent that we take use or we make use of those green bottles so they don't end up in the dump site or in the oceans.
The idea of doing this type of Christmas decorations is to get the attention of the public, and it doesn't exactly replace the other types that we've been used to. It's just introducing a more creative way to do the things that we do.
We generate a lot of tire waste over the course of the year, and what happens to those? There are things that we can put to use, recycle again, and then be able to support production of additional source of energy.
With the support and collaboration of the agencies of environment in the state, the initiative showcases one of the creative ways of beautifying the environment using plastic PET bottles and tires, which often end up in drainages, canals, and landfills.
And it's our hope, that over the next few years, we'll be able to find more creative ways to do the things that we do from the use of recyclables.
We want households to emulate what LAWMA is doing this year. Instead of us creating a big, giant Christmas tree that eventually becomes a waste to sell, let's use bottles. So we've used bottles to create a giant Christmas tree, and at the end of the cycle of the festive period, we will take that bottles and they will go through processing for recycling.
We also ask that they keep the parks clean, so there are dustbins at different strategic locations around the parks. So when they're done with their plastics and their food and all of that, they should please make sure that they put it in the dustbin so they can be taken away by LAWMA to the appropriate locations. They shouldn't litter as much as possible. While we also have cleaners that are there also keeping the parks clean, we should also play our part to ensure that the parks are clean and safe for other users and visitors to the parks.
It is no doubt a season to be jolly, but while we make merry and celebrate, it also comes with responsibilities.
Single-use plastic bottle will take about 400 years to decay if nothing is done about it. And an average of everybody in Lagos individually, you use about 170 single bottle in a year. So imagine a population of 20-25 million, how many bottles that we are going through on an annual basis.
When you want to drink some water, you're going out, rather than using a plastic bottle, you can use a reusable bottle so you can refill as you go along, and it reduces the number of plastics on the road.
We need to be concerned as a citizen and make sure that we're sorting our waste from our homes, turn your food waste into compost, recycle your PET bottle. Now we have loads of recyclers all around Lagos and in Nigeria as a whole.
Plastic waste and used tires make up the largest amount of solid waste. Initiatives of this kind shows there is no limit to recycling waste into viable products, which aims to not only preserve our environment, but also adds an economic value to the society.
And that's about it on this week's edition of Green Angle. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Makwarela. Bye for now.